Hi, I'm Jonathan Hill. I'm a cartoonist, an illustrator, and an educator, and today I'm here to share a little ritual that I do called a journal comic. Some of you might already keep a journal. It's a great way to document sort of your day-to-day life and what's happening, but it's also a really great way to, through writing or drawing, work through things that are happening to you that maybe are exciting or give you anxiety. It's kind of like a way to sort of talk with yourself to figure those things out. And most people keep a written journal, but because I am a cartoonist, I'm a visual artist, I like doing it in my favorite medium, comics. So before we get started, I'm going to go over the real quick supply list. And this is really low key, and I love that it's so accessible because you're really only going to need something to write with. Pencils, pens, Sharpies, colored pencils, anything you have in front of you really, and then you're just going to need something to draw on. For this exercise, I'm just going to use some loose typing paper, but a lot of folks have their journals in bound notebooks, and these can be as simple or as fancy as you have access to. And really, the reason it's helpful to have it be in a bound journal or notebook is because it makes it easier to refer to later. But if you're doing it on loose paper like me, you can always bind it later, put it in a notebook later, so you don't really have to worry about that. All right. So once you have those in front of you, we're going to go ahead and get started. So you're going to need those things, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and feel free to pause the video and answer these questions and take as long as you need. I do encourage people to write them down, write the answers quickly, and not because it's really about capturing the experience and getting the ideas down more than worrying about something being perfect. All right. And so, I think sometimes when you work quickly, it's helpful to do that. So, all right. So you have those things. And so the first question is, I want you to think about today or think about yesterday. And I want you to think about, what are the things that happened to you? Think about everything. They could be things that were hard or stressful, or maybe there was something cool or unexpected or exciting that happened. What's really helpful for me is I kind of think about my day from when I woke up to when I went to sleep and just try to write down in bullet points what are the things that happened to me. That way I don't miss anything, because there might be something small that ended up being bigger than I thought it was. Or of course there are the big things, but then I don't miss anything if I do that. Another question I'm going to ask is, who did you interact with? Who did you see? As I'm recording this, it's still very much in the pandemic. Online counts. So if you have people anyone you've interacted with, write that down. And the other question that's kind of relates to those previous two is, how did you feel? We feel so many things throughout the day, and, there might be one feeling that sticks out, but maybe there are also lots of other little feelings. You can think about the things that happened to you and write down how they made you feel. How did you maybe react to those, or how did you respond to them? And I think it's really important to be honest about these. This is really just for you, this brainstorming. Nobody's going to look at this. So, I think it's important to just be honest, because it makes it accurate, which is what's important. Unless you want to be an unreliable narrator, which is a whole other thing. But, anyhow, so once you have those things written down, and so I have my little list, and mine's kind of small, but this is what I came up with. And you can see I'm just writing down sort of feelings, things that happened to me. This is kind of small because I was doing it kind of quickly for the sake of the video. But you can see, so once you have that list written out, I want you to look at those things on that list, and I want you to maybe circle the thing that kind of stands out the most, that resonates the most with you. Okay, and so you can see that I circled too many Zoom meetings. And so that's the thing I'm going to make my comic about. That's the thing that stood out to me the most about yesterday. And so right now there's a lot of different ways that we can approach it. What you could do is you could just draw a single image about that, with that thing in it. Maybe I could draw a computer screen or something, or my desk, me at my desk. And then if you wanted to write a little description to go with it, that's okay. I think something that's, you could also do a comic strip, which is what I'm going to do, which is like a little actual narrative. But I think some things that I want you to think about as you're doing this is capturing the experience is the most important thing. It does not matter how well you draw. If you just want to draw in stick figures, that's perfect. If you want to draw in shapes or colors and be a little more abstract, like that's okay. If you want to draw yourself as characters to help you remove yourself from having to draw yourself, like that's okay. You can approach this in any way that you feel comfortable with. All right. So for me, like I said, I'm going to do a comic strip because I like that. I start out by drawing the 4 panels that are going to be my comic strip. Okay. And then I think about, so the idea is too many Zoom meetings. And I think about, how did I feel about that? What was I thinking about that? And so in my head, I was thinking about, how it's been over a year. I'm just like so tired of it. I'm tired of being on my screen. I miss seeing people in person. I just feel exhausted and kind of uncomfortable being in my office all the time. And so that's sort of what I wanted to capture in my comic strip, all right? And so I try to think about how I can fit it into these 4 little boxes. And so this is my final comic strip, and I'm reading it from behind. So if I'm reading it a little clunky, please forgive me. It's been over a year and I'm still stuck inside the house. So I drew a little house and I have me going, help. All my meetings and interactions are still online on Zoom. It's so exhausting and I'm so tired of it. Also, my chair is uncomfortable, so my butt hurts all the time. Oh, actually, sorry. My butt always hurts. So that was my journal comic. And so really, I encourage you to do these, as often as you can. I'd say every day is awesome. Every other day, maybe once a week. And the reason for that is because, when you look back at it, you can kind of see what you've been through, which I think is really important because you might come across things that are really worrying you now, but maybe when you look back a couple months later, you've kind of forgotten about them. And so it helps you remind you that the things that you worry about now, maybe they might be really heavy now, but they might not be heavy later. Like you kind of get through it. And I think that's really helpful. And I also think that it just, gives you a chance to see your growth as a person. Like, what are you thinking? Like, what are the things you're really thinking about? And you can kind of see where you've come from, and it helps you kind of figure out where you want to go. How are you reacting to things? How are you feeling about things? And also as an artist, by drawing every day, you get practice. And it really tracks your growth as an artist too, which I think is really exciting. And something to remember too is that these are just for you. You don't have to share these with anybody else. But what is nice is when you do share them, I think sometimes you'd be surprised as to how many people are going through the same experience. And it can make you feel not so alone, So like for this, my experience, I'm sure a lot of you are sick of being on screens, are sick of having class or meetings over Zoom. And, we can feel so isolated, but by sharing this experience and having other people react to it, it can make us feel closer to other people, which I think is really nice. So that's journal comics. Just the main things to remember are to, don't worry about how well you're drawing. Don't worry about if it's big or exciting things. Just capture what really you feel stand out to you about that day, and to just try to do it as much as you can so you create a sort of wide body of work that you can reflect on later. So, all right, thanks for your time. I appreciate it, and everyone stay safe. Okay, bye.